Before watching the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button below and clicking the bell icon to be notified whenever we publish a
5 unusual signs and symptoms that you're lacking vitamin D. Did you know that before the year 2000, most doctors believed that none of their patients could be vitamin D deficient? But as technology to measure for vitamin D became affordable, more studies were conducted. According to Dr. Michael Holick, who is one of the leading vitamin D researchers, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, reported that 32% of adults and children in the U.S. were vitamin D deficient. That's a pretty high number. So for that reason alone, it's important that you look for signs of vitamin D deficiency. With more research being conducted, Holick believes that about 50% of the general population may be at risk of vitamin D deficiency. Darker skin. Holick explains that if you have darker skin, you may need as much as 10 times more sun exposure to get the same amount of vitamin D as an individual with pale skin. He adds that your skin pigment acts as a natural sunscreen, so the more pigment you have, the more time you need to spend in the sun. You have the blues. According to a study published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry, one of the signs of vitamin D deficiency is having a low mood. To prove this theory, researchers studied 80 elderly patients and they found that those who had the lowest vitamin D levels were 11 times more likely to be depressed than those who had healthy levels of vitamin D. You're at least 50. According to the International Society for Clinical Densitometry, about 95% of senior citizens may be vitamin D deficient. The reason is not just because they spend a lot of their times indoors. Another reason is that they produce less when they're exposed to the sun. They add that an elderly individual over the age of 70 produces 30% less vitamin D than a younger person with the same sun exposure. Obese, overweight or high muscle mass. Holick explains that vitamin D is fat-soluble, which means that the body will collect it. So, if you are overweight or obese, your body will need a lot more vitamin D than the average person. The same goes for those who have a lot of muscle and body mass, he adds. Aching bones. Holick says that many patients who visit their doctor and complain about aching bones and muscles are misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. It's not an uncommon mistake, but what I recommend is that before the doctor diagnoses you, ask for a vitamin D blood test just so you can rule it out if it comes back negatively.